Dear hosts, we're back. And this time I have Heather Bear from the Vacation Rental Success Formula. And we're going to talk about pivoting your business. How do you change and shift immediately with everything that is happening? Because we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and her government in Canada keeps extending lockdowns and making changes. So listen up to this episode where I interview Heather Bear from the Vacation Rental Formula. Heather Bear, one more time, thank you so much for being with us here at the hosting journey. It is such a pleasure seeing you.
Always a pleasure to spend time with you, Evelyn.
I know it has been a while since we saw each other in person. We have seen each other through the social medias, but not in person.
Yeah, 18 months ago, London, England. I remember standing in the rain in Covent Garden with you.
Oh, I know. And the amazing photos that we got from that conference. Your host, that was the conference hosts 2019. I believe they did a digital version of it last year. Maybe they were going to do another digital version this year. It was a great conference.
I thought it was a fabulous conference. I go to a lot of these conferences, and that one, I think, surpassed them all. I don't know, there was just a vibe about it.
Yeah, and especially because it was the first time that they were doing a conference.
Yeah.
That it was amazing. It was really good. I liked the way they did it and everything else. Even though there was some audio issues, but
What do you remember? Do you remember you and I jumped up on the stage because somebody hadn't turned up on the main stage to do a session? So we said, "Hey, let's just stand up there and
do
Q&A.
something."
Yes.
Yes. And I still use the photos from that conference. I really like it a lot. So Heather, I wanted to have a little conversation with you to find out. We all have lived through 2020 and we all have to pivot. Talk about the changes in your business. And let's talk about a little bit first about the kind of business that you run.
Yeah, I'm in Ontario, Canada. We have a property management business. We have, at the beginning of the pandemic, we had 180 properties. We now have 130 that we manage. We lost a lot through, natural churn, but we more recently, the money truck has been appearing up people's driveways.
Are people selling their property?
Yeah.
Really?
When they can sell, they're putting a price on it, which is high in the beginning, and then offers up to almost twice the amount of the listing price. So just it is phenomenal. And people, we have contracts with our owners that they must honor the bookings they have. But when that money truck appears, they'll pay us anything. They'll pay us their commission. But they just want to get rid of the property and run with the money. So
and the new owners,
we understand that.
The new owners don't want to do vacation rentals?
Some do. Others don't. So we take what we can get. So that's been a bit of a challenge in this past year. Our high season is July and August. We're very much a seasonal company. So we have 10 weeks of high season, and then in the last year it was busy June and September. Same for this year, and then we have a sort of winter. We have fabulous winter weather, but we don't have the mountains to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
So we have pimples instead of not even hills for skiing. But we lost our entire winter this year. So we locked down on Boxing Day for 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. We got really excited at the end of that when we opened up for about 2 weeks. And then they labeled, we've got 13 different regions, and then all our different regions got a different color. And depending on what color region you were in was whether you could rent your property or not, along with other things. And that would change almost daily. It was Groundhog Day, day in, day out. And then 2 weeks ago, or back in April, earlier April, we got locked down again for another 6 weeks. So now we are no rentals again until the end of May.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, because
you've got to roll with it. You just got to roll with it. And it's interesting, Evelyn, when this broke out in spring of 2020, mm-hmm. we we seem to be stronger then. It's like, hey, we might have to go without a summer. We have the
Mhm,
cash reserves. We'll furlough our staff. Sadly, we'll have to furlough them, but the government will step in and pay them something.
mhm,
And we can go without a summer and then go all the way around to the summer of 2021, and we'll be able to pick up and we'll be okay.
mhm.
And then we had the best summer ever. We had because we opened up on June the 5th. We had the best year ever. So here we are back, Groundhog Day, exactly the same. We don't know if we're going to have a summer this year. We're 100% booked.
Okay.
So,
So if you do have a summer, it will be a good summer
oh,
again.
if we do have a summer, it'll be a good summer again. If this gets extended even more, um, it's extended to the end of May. They're talking about extending it into the middle of June. We won't have the vaccinations up to where everybody wants them till the end of August. So we don't know. We're having to make some creative decisions at the moment, which is really quite a lot of fun.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But let me also ask you about what about the locals? How are they feeling? Because this is the government telling you of the lockdown, right?
Yeah.
And letting you know, like, no, you cannot have this, and no, you cannot have that. But what about the town, the locals, the people that live there? How are they feeling about people visiting?
They to a degree, they understand that come summer, the majority of these areas, they're all tourist areas. They can only they live, eat, and breathe the tourist season. If these people don't come,
Hmm.
then all the places that they love to go to in the summer, the restaurants, the stores, the marinas, they're all going to back off and shut down. So it's a balance. You need the tourists to to keep those businesses going, but
Hmm.
then they don't want people coming and going out into the community. So it worked last year. We opened on June the 5th, 2020. We had a full summer and everybody seemed to be comfortable with it. There was no transmission. But of course, things are different this year. There's variants, there's greater transmission risk. It,
Hmm.
it really is just a wait and see period. But I know if I look on the local Facebook groups, there is definitely some um, not in my backyard feeling at the moment.
Yeah.
Greater than what it normally is.
And that just happened in Puerto Rico because spring breakers came down to Puerto Rico and it was a disaster.
I can imagine that. Yeah, I mean,
Ye-
I didn't know they came to Puerto Rico. I know I just looked at what was happening in Miami.
Yeah, no, in Puerto Rico, that was, it was just, and I don't know if because people are pent up from not traveling or from
Mhm.
everything else, but the behavior was so outrageous that now they're back onto a different lockdown. So there's even curfews. The curfew used to be at midnight, now it's back at 10 p.m. in Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
And it had to do because there was more outbreaks after the spring break happened. Yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, our area is a little bit different. I mean, talk about curfew. I laughed. I saw that on a Facebook post that you said you had a curfew for 10:30 or 10 o'clock, and I
mhm.
thought, yeah, everything closes down here at 8 o'clock anyway. We don't do nightlife.
Exactly. So that's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. So it's more. I mean, people who come up to our very rural area, they do keep themselves to themselves. They'll
Mhm,
arrive at a property. They'll probably stay at that property, except somebody might go out and do some shopping once or twice a week. So
mhm.
it's not a case of people going out to eat and drink because we just don't have those facilities available really.
Which is a good thing, I guess.
It is.
Um,
Yeah.
Let me ask you a little bit of something different. How's your mind about all this?
Hey, you know where my mind is.
How's your mindset on this?
My mindset is, it is what it is. I try and maintain positivity because there is absolutely no point
Mhm,
in getting upset. And I was telling my grandchildren just that thing this morning.
mhm,
One of them had spilt something, the whole spilt milk thing. She
mhm,
didn't want to come and tell me in case I'd be angry, and I said, no, I don't get angry because I think about it, how will I feel about this in a couple of days? And
Mhm,
I will have totally forgotten what you spilt in a couple of days. And the same is with this now. I cannot physically do anything
mhm,
about it, or there's a few things I can physically do about it. I went and got a vaccine. I think that was something
mhm,
positive I did about
mhm,
it, and I'm hoping other people will do the same. Um, but I don't tend to get upset. My goal is to pass that on to my staff, because I have a couple of staff find um, who find this very concerning, and have a lot of deeper thoughts about it than I do. My thoughts is, we will get over this, and everybody else is going through the same thing. So
and do you think this is I know for me, and I feel the same way as you, it's sort of like I try to be in that moment. Where am I
mhm.
right now? And what is it that I can do about it, right? What do I have that false reality of control?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, with my business and my staff, it's okay. So let's say we don't have a summer.
Mhm,
We've just got to take a very practical, pragmatic approach to it and say, okay, this is happening. What are we going to do about it?
mhm,
Do we put people on half time and then give them projects to do, so that
mhm,
when we do come back, we come back stronger,
mhm,
and we come back wiser, and we come back with different systems and procedures, so we're making the most of the downtime. And yeah, we will, if we lose a summer, we lose one heck of a lot of money,
yeah,
but we've got the reserves to see us through. But I'm sort of a little bit more concerned about the people that work for me,
mhm,
and the people that rely on us for their livelihood.
yeah.
So, and how to make it good for them. um but it is what it is.
Nothing we could do about it. You
Yeah.
you live in the moment. I mean, let me ask you, how do you think this has changed you as a person and as a business owner?
um as a it's actually made me think more about retirement. you
Okay.
know yeah, I'm at that age, when I think, oh, do I really want to do this any longer anyway? But how's it made me? You say, how has it changed me as a person?
Yeah.
um I'm not sure. I'm not sure there is any change, really.
Mhm.
Um, I take a very pragmatic approach to everything anyway. I rarely get upset. When I do, I actually blow my stack sky high. Everybody knows that, Heather's not happy today. But in general, as I just said, I take every day as it comes.
Mhm.
Every day is something new. I still get excited about things every single day.
Mm.
We're pivoting into sort of cottage rental safety,
Ooh.
um, and the whole safety issue in
Mhm.
rental properties. We've never really had the chance to fully explore how we can encourage people to make their properties more safer.
Mhm.
We went through all the COVID procedures and protocols, but this is more of looking around and looking at possibilities of trips and falls, and what can you do to make your place safe? How can we help people have a safer environment?
Mhm.
So yeah, with me, it's always there's something new. There's usually another business on the horizon.
I love it. I love how you think, my dear. And so let's talk about how are you pivoting in this year in 2021?
Well, that's the cottage rental safety is one thing, but
Mhm.
my most exciting thing at the moment is we got approached by a company called Le Boat,
Mhm.
and they do cruises on waterways across Europe and in the UK, and I think across the US as well. I think they're
Mhm.
moving into the US. But they also do cruises on the Rideau Canal. And the Rideau Canal is the canal that goes, or it's a waterway that goes between Ottawa, our capital,
Mhm.
down to the St. Lawrence River and into Lake Ontario. So it's a beautiful, beautiful, sort of a 7-day trip that you can do down this canal. And you can take the cruiser all the way into the city of Ottawa. So it's just beautiful.
Mm.
Um, So this is different for us because it's not a cottage, but it's like all our cottages on the water.
Mm.
So this is actually having your home on the water and moving it from place to place.
And now, will there be more people in the cruises, or is it just like, are you renting the
As
boat?
you rent a boat to a group of people. So it's like you can have 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom boats.
Oh, that sounds
And
amazing. Okay,
I
hold on one
know.
second. Is there a crew with this boat?
No, no,
So hopefully you know how to manage a boat.
no, you don't have to manage a boat. You can be a complete novice, and they teach you how to do it. So you just arrive with your family and the dog because they're all pet friendly, and then you
Mm.
unload onto the boat, and they give you some lessons on how to navigate this boat down the rivers and lakes, and how to moor it, and all the. I mean, these are state of the art cruisers. So they have the bow thrusters and the side thrusters, and I'm going to have an experience of this in the next couple of months. So I'm
Ooh,
super excited about that. But this company approached us because the majority of their clients coming to Canada come from the US and Europe. And of course,
mm,
they're not coming this year. So they want to capture the Canadian market.
mhm,
And who best to go to than a company that is primarily dealing with the Canadian market, dealing with the local market.
mhm.
And particularly when we don't have if all goes well, we don't have any properties to rent this summer because they're all full. We're 100% occupied for July and August. We've got
Mhm.
600 people, 600 families on a waiting list right now.
Oh, wow.
So if I can
Wow.
go to them and say, sorry, we haven't got a cottage for you, but
But
we have a boat.
we have a boat.
So no, this is, as you can tell, I get super excited over any new project, and yeah, I can't wait to sort of write the blog posts and get out on social media and just create the buzz about this new type of vacation.
Oh, that sounds amazing. That sounds so much fun.
I
And
think so.
and I could just see all the social media for it, like, and with the dog,
Oh
like,
yes, yes, you got the dog sitting on the top, and
yeah.
the kids sunbathing on the, and then you can rent bikes and kayaks and canoes, and they just get towed behind, not the bikes but the kayaks and canoes. And so you can stop anytime anywhere along the way, and you can get out and you can walk, you can go hiking, you can visit the towns. So it's not sort of cruising out into the wide ocean. You're
Mhm.
just on you're on a river, canal,
Sort of like
waterway.
a slow river, slow kind of cruising, not nothing dangerous or anything
You're
like
not
that.
going over 8 miles per hour.
Oh my God, that sounds fantastic.
So you can get off anytime, go through the little towns and go to the bakeries, and
Very nice. Oh my God, I
yeah.
could just see all the potentials of it.
Well, and this is it. We sort of came to a standstill because we've rented everything that we've got.
Mhm,
We are taking on board new properties, with lots of new owners coming on board with new properties, but there's not going to be enough to meet that demand. So
mhm.
we've got to go outside and think outside the box and say, well, how can we help these people find a vacation, and but not in a cottage because we don't have them. We don't have the supply. So let's look
Wow.
elsewhere and see what they might do instead. So yeah, this is really exciting. I
And
feel
I'm
like a
glad.
kid.
Yeah, I mean, and the question is also then what will the government regulate them and say, no, you cannot? Does the lockdown work for them or not really?
I, I don't know. I think it would probably would actually. I think if we get if cottages get shut down, then I'm sure they're going to shut down the cruise boats as well, because they've
Hmm.
still got to stop places, and people will get off and they'll want to go and use the local services.
Yeah.
So, we all have fingers crossed that everything's going to open up at the end of May.
Okay. All right. I sure hope so. I mean, I'm so happy that you're like pivoting and finding new things like always because, that keeps us young.
Oh, I need that.
No, 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 no. You youngin' one. Um, it's so, and look, I always love talking to you and having these conversations. And as you know, I'm studying Eveland 2.0, and I'm probably going to be using property managers. So let's talk a little bit about that. What should I look for on property managers? Because I'm having my own issues about it.
Um, for me as a property manager, I'm looking at it the other way because I went outside. I went out yesterday and I met a new owner
Mhm.
with a property. They've got a lot they have to do with it, but this is part of my job, and I'll go into the home and I meet the family and I get shown around and I get that feeling: is this a person or a family or a group that I'm going to be comfortable working with?
Mm,
And if I don't get that feeling, we won't take them on.
mhm,
Because to me, a house can be decorated, it can be equipped, it can be made to look beautiful, regardless of what size it is. But if the relationship between me and the person representing that property is not a good one, it's not going to be a good fit because there's times when there's going to be issues.
mhm,
There's times when I'm going to ring them up and say, the guests have just told us there's bed bugs.
mhm,
I mean, I think it's happened once in 20 years, and it wasn't a bed bug anyway. But you still have to make some, and I'm using that as an example because sometimes you have to make these calls.
mhm,
Somebody has complained about your place, and you have to feel so confident that the owner is going to have the right response
mhm,
and work with you
mhm,
to resolve it. Because there's time, I will always say that you can never guarantee that every guest, and you know this, there's always some wayward guests. There's those that you think are amazing and they're going to surprise you and they're going to damage the place or leave a mess or invite 15 other people. And you're going to get that call from a neighbor or the police even. And
mhm,
at some point, you have to deal with that issue with the owner and you have to justify, as a property manager, the action you've taken.
mhm,
So if that relationship is not there in the first place, and if you're not comfortable with that relationship, then it's not going to work. So yeah, it's to me, it's the relationship because I can say, this is a picture of how a bed should look, of how a stunning image of a bed. You go ahead and do it, and they'll do that. But if I'm going to get pushback on something that you really do need a new can opener,
yes.
or I remember with remember with one owner years ago that his and this is way back in the times of DVD players.
Mhm,
His DVD player had broken and he refused to buy another one. And I said, "Look, it's $45." Oh, no, they broke it. They can do without.
really? Isn't that
And
always interesting when owners are like that? And that's one of the reasons why I personally do not like managing anybody else's properties. Because I had a client, I set up her house, and we were at the stores buying all the things that you need. And it was a beach house, and she did not want to buy a blow dryer. And she was like,
oh,
people do not blow dry their hair. And I'm like, no,
yeah.
you do not blow dry your hair. You guess might. And whether they use it or not, they want to see it there.
I've had pushback on the one. We ask our owners to make sure that they have a blow dryer in every bathroom,
Mhm,
not just in the master bathroom, but in every bathroom, because there are people who sleep in other rooms
mhm.
and use other bathrooms. And the pushback we've had on that for the $20
Yes.
dryer that we've said, okay, we'll buy it and we'll put
Mhm.
it in there.
Yeah.
But then the relationship has begun to sour.
Yes.
So it's interesting that dynamic, that rapport between manager and owner, I think is if that's not there, it ain't gonna work.
Mm. Interesting. Thank you. Thank you for that insight because it's all about that relationship.
Oh
Because
yeah.
you as that property manager to tell your hosts, your the owners that even if it's just like, look, the place needs a painting job.
Mhm. Yes, I've done that. I've done that. I'm sorry. You need to clean your windows
Exactly, exactly.
because we
He,
we don't do the property management in terms of cleaning. So it's that's down to them. Or
Mhm.
so we expect this clean property, and I say, well, yes, I'm sorry, you've got to clean your windows and clean your window frames. And
Yeah,
if I get a pushback on that, and we used to have this expression that we heard a lot, which was, well, it's just a cottage. It goes back to sort of 20 years ago when nobody cared. It was just a vacation on the water, and the cottage was that hard roof, and
mm,
that was a luxury. But people
mm,
have changed. People have changed. Airbnb brought in a whole new type of rental guest who had much higher expectations.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it's also social media.
Hmm.
Because you see in Instagram the beautiful vacations. Excuse
Yes.
me. Sorry. Uh, allergies. It's the season. All right, let's start that one over again. I think in social media you see all those vacations and in these fabulous places, and that's the expectation, or the
Hmm.
HGTV shows, right?
Yeah.
That is like, oh, that's what I want. That's not what I have in my house, so that's what I want when I go on vacation. I want that experience, that beautiful kitchen. I want the fireplace. I want it all, right? So I get it. I get it. And I think the demands will continue, and especially now more than ever.
I think so. Yeah, I think that we've seen expectations just this trajectory upwards over the last 20 years, and you're absolutely right. I don't think it's not going to back down. People are never going to back down on cleanliness and
Mm,
the pristine nature of a property, but also the style and the decor.
mm,
Um, just grandma's old throw on the on the bed doesn't cut it anymore.
not at all. Not at. Oh well, it depends on the price point, though, right? And even then, um,
Even then.
I'm doing an entire overhaul of our place in Puerto Rico. I shipped a lot of my furniture from New York over there, and right now we're doing like an oasis of a balcony.
Hmm.
And even though it's not a high end property, it's not like not even $100 a night. But the only way for me to raise my rates is to create that experience.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so like that, they're like, ooh, and sometimes it doesn't take that much.
Well,
You know,
no, I see images on listings, and you think, are you serious? Are you seriously showing that as a property that you expect somebody to part with their money for?
mhm.
And it still shocks me sometimes to see some of those. And you've seen them too.
Yes, I have, or
But
even just bad pictures, not professional photos.
mhm.
Clutter spaces and things like that, or all the knickknacks and things. Yeah, no, yeah. Not anymore. You could probably done that 10, 20 years ago, but
Yes.
not anymore.
Yeah, you could get away with a lot all those years ago. And when I started, there was just a mass you could get away with. And um, yes, the flat beds with a single flat pillow and a sleeping bag thrown over the top.
Not
But you
anymore.
can't, not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah, no, I have a designer designing my new places, because as we've talked about this before. I do not like design. Um,
Hmm.
I know good design, but I don't like to do it. And I want a style for the cabins. I don't want your traditional bare looking. Nothing wrong with it if that's your style, but I want modern looking, and I'm going after a different clientele. So,
Yes, and I think that really what it comes down with, who is your demographic, who are you going after, and what
mhm,
are they looking for,
mhm,
and you've got to take out of your head what is it that you like,
mhm.
and project out to your, what is it that those people like, the ones that are going to pay you.
Exactly. Exactly. So let's stop there. Where what is it that people want, right? And I wonder what is it that people going to want in a couple of years from now.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I just don't go there. I'm too much on a day-to-day
Mm-hmm.
basis at the moment. I think if we get a good summer this year, then that's a real benefit. That
Mm-hmm.
will be 2 summers in a row
Mm-hmm.
that we've done well. What happens the following year when everybody starts thinks, I've had enough of the staycation, I'm out of here. We've got to pivot again and start, which is, yeah, I'll just head off on a cruise
Yeah,
on the coast.
but you had a clientele before. I think they will still come back.
Well, the other
Uh,
thing is that we've got a whole new lot of um, of clients, of guests in the
mm-hmm.
past year that had never considered staying close to home before because they'd always gone abroad. And I know I've spoken to some of them who said I had no idea what was in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely no idea. So our job now is to retarget those people,
Mm-hmm.
not
Yeah,
just let them
nurture
come.
those clients. Yeah.
Yeah, not just let them stay once and go away and then go back down to the US or the Caribbean or Mexico or wherever in the future.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to continue that retargeting. You had a fantastic time, let me show you this and let me show you that. You just went to one place, but there's all these different places. So I think that's something we're doing at the moment, is really regenerating our drip campaigns, making sure that we are constantly connecting with that audience.
Connecting with the audience, connecting with those guests, coming back and to come back in the future. I love that. Oh, thank you so much, Heather, and thank you for all the insights. Any parting wisdoms to my audience? As you know, they're Airbnb hosts. They don't tend to do a lot of one of the things I'm going to be teaching this year is how to create your own website.
I think whatever you do, I've always said, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what's going to happen. You never know what company is going to be here one minute and not here the next.
Mm-hmm.
And developing your own base, I think is the best thing to do. And it's not expensive, and there's everything out there to help you do it now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't got your own website, and I spend hours, and I just love it, creating blog content on my website, sharing all that local information, because that's one thing that the Airbnb and the other OTAs cannot do. They
Mm-hmm.
can't give all that local information that
Mm-hmm.
people are out there looking for. So they're out there searching for it on Google. How
Mm-hmm.
much better is it for them to find your blog post and come back to your site
Yeah.
rather than find that information somewhere else? So yeah, create your own website. I advocate actually investing in somebody doing that for you and not going out to there's a lot of platforms out there that will tell you they'll create a website for you, but that's somebody else's backyard, somebody else's property. You
Yeah.
want your own. Do you agree?
Yes, I totally agree. I actually was talking to a friend of mine who's a property manager, and she's thinking about using a platform to create for websites. And I'm like, I want ownership.
Mm-hmm.
I want own, because if I want to transfer over that to my own platform, or whether it's a Squarespace or WordPress or even Wix, if you want to go as simple as Wix, right? Um, but for you to learn this and for you to just take ownership of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you might use some plugins and third-party plugins and apps and things like that to make it easy for you. But I'm a firm believer on you take ownership of the information and the SEO, search
Mm-hmm.
engine optimization. You want it for you. You don't want it to promote anybody else. Because look, even though I've always been an Airbnb host, one of the things that I have always done is I always ask my guests for their information, and I have a database of 10 years of every single guest that
Mm-hmm.
stayed in my house. Spreadsheet, Google, you know, old fashioned Google spreadsheet with every guest information, so that
Mm-hmm.
if they gave me their email address, because not everybody does, but I always ask for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have your own website, you have your own database of people.
Mhm.
So the holy grail is those repeat guests, and of
Yes.
course having those guests become your marketing ambassadors, because they're
Mhm.
out there sharing their stuff. about what a great time they had on Instagram. You just don't want to be sending those people back to your Airbnb listing when they could come directly to you. So,
Yes,
yeah, that I will bang that drum for as long as I can.
I totally understand. And your host, I also understand why you send them to your Airbnb site. I get it. I know there's that fear of like, well, how do I do this and how do I get that and how do I collect money? But that will be another episode that we could do with Heather about direct booking and
Hmm.
how do you go from depending on an OTA to direct booking. So that will be our next episode, my dear Heather.
Well, since my company is a 100% direct booking, we do not use, for the last year, we have not used Airbnb or Verbo or TripAdvisor or
Mhm.
Booking.com. It's just self-generated traffic, and we do pretty well.
Yeah, no, hey, look, you were 100% booked last year and you're back again this year. May you have a season, my dear.
Thank you, thank you. I have my fingers crossed, and yeah, everybody's primed for a season. I honestly don't. I think our government would fold if they stopped the Ontario summer season somehow.
I understand. I understand. All right, my dear. Again, one more time, thank you so much. And I'm going to put in your show notes all the information on how to find you and how to reach you. So thank you, Heather, for joining us here at the hosting journey. And best of luck in your upcoming journeys.
Thank you, Evelyn. Absolutely, always a pleasure. We will do this. We will meet up again, maybe in London.
Yes.
Again, you never know.
Yes. Dear host, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Heather Rayer from the Vacation Rental Success Formula. And if you like this video, gently press like or subscribe and get notified for more videos and more interviews with more people that I hope you find valuable. Now, what is it that you're doing in your business? Have you pivoted this year or are you doing okay and you're staying with vacation rentals? Or have you moved on to travel nurses? Let me know in the comments below because we're all changing. We're still going through this pandemic and things are shifting and changing just all the time. And I will see you on the next episode of The Hosting Journey.